I hate that I can't make tickers.
I'm in charge, dude.
Next year, I want to be able to do tickers.
The Pretty Good Telemark Show. Laughs and stories steal the show. Join the ride, let's have some fun. Skiing adventures for everyone. The Pretty Good Telemark Show. Laughs and stories steal the show. Join the ride, let's have some fun. Skiing adventures for everyone. From tips to tales, they've got the scoop. Tune in now, come join the troop. The Pretty Good Telemark Show. Skiing vibes and a lively flow with Mr. Adam.
What a delight.
Is the by Bishop skis graphic new from episode 2, or did I just get that out of my brain?
I think you forgot it.
Well, thanks for the reminder. Well, we're back here for episode 3. Another 40 seconds of that beautiful track. Thank you, Adam X.
I'm gonna drop it on Spotify soon.
We'll get like 40 monthly listeners.
I don't know. People are requesting the full thing.
Maybe we'll do that for episode 6. I don't think people are ready for the full thing. That could be our celebratory, like, end of the winter season release of just the full doggy of like, what, 4 minutes or something?
Yeah, it's long. And I wrote the whole thing. I'm very proud of a lot of work and effort into it. I just gave ChatGPT a lot of keywords.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I care. Go ahead.
Adam, we're here, but we've got 2 other people with us this time. So they got to enjoy that lovely, lovely intro. We've got Sofia Whitefields and Eliza Biondi here. What is up?
What is up? Beautiful intro video.
It's yeah, Adam is so proud of it. Really, if you're going to tune into the video aspect of this whole podcast, I think it's just worth it to see how proud Adam looks every single time that song is playing.
Dude, 1, it's catchy. 2, it slaps. 3, it's great marketing. That's what Telemark's been missing this whole time is a good theme.
No wonder those Scarpa sales are doing so good. The second that song released.
Sold out, dog. Sold out. As soon as I got the Telemark, the boots are sold out. You're welcome,
Scarpa.
You're welcome.
Anyways, we've been rambling for a bit, even before jumping onto here with that beautiful soundtrack, but we do have Sofia and Eliza here from the TELE Mommies, and happy to have you both on here. And I figured we can just start off if you'd like to introduce yourself, especially since Adam X has no idea what's going on in the telemark industry. So it's good for him to know who he's interviewing for this show.
Intros for me.
Literally everyone knows except for Adam X. So yeah, tell us about yourselves.
Yeah, Eliza, go for it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eliza. I live in Fraser, Colorado, and I am the woman behind the account TELE Mommies, but as a collective, everybody's a TELE Mommy. So if you've asked anybody for stickers, it's either myself or Nina. I've been teleing consistently for like 3 or 4 years, but I came from a TELE family, so it was just meant to happen. I just resisted for a while.
Rebellious.
Yeah.
Gets everybody eventually.
Yeah, I'm Sofia. I also came from a TELE family, I guess. I grew up skiing in Colorado at Steamboat, grew up in Fort Collins, live out in Utah and Salt Lake now, and I ski for Bishop. And I love the TELE Mommies, and I have nothing to do with the account, but I consider myself a TELE Mommy because I love a good community like that. And yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Is there an official roster of who the TELE Mommies are?
Well, I would say like the gals in the This Is Telemark segment would be like the main crew of like the main TELE Mommies. In addition, I think we could add TELE Maddie to that list. But any woman or guy that wants to call themselves a TELE Mommy can call themselves a TELE Mommy and be a part of it.
Or a TELE Princess. Oh, no, this is married.
Yeah, or a TELE Princess.
Right there, I got it.
Is this a gang? What is it?
It's not a gang. I would just say it's a bunch of girls that became friends because of Telemark and then wanted to make silly videos doing telemark. And then CJ asked us to be in the movie last year. And so it kind of like cemented the crew. And now we're just like winging it as we go and making silly, stupid stickers and then hopping on Instagram trending audios. So that's like the whole
You guys are
purpose now.
Winging it as we go sounds like the Pretty Good Telemark Show. So I feel like this is an interview just meant to be in that case. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you know, Jack O'Brien just put together an article that was in Powder for the Tele Mommies talking about what you all were doing. If people listening to the show or watching hasn't read that article, Google Powder and Tele Mommies, and I think it's really great. But I think it would be cool to have you guys come up here and kind of talk about the origins of it, which was very silly, right? On just making something very similar to what TC was. But I feel like this project has grown into something a little bit bigger than just kind of parodies and memes, or am I wrong on that one?
Yeah, I actually really liked Jack's take. I really liked the title, The Tele Mommies Aren't Just Here to Have Fun, because we consistently say we are just here to have fun. And he asked a lot of questions that actually made me start to think about it more. Like, did it open, like, there was a gap you didn't realize was there. And I guess that's kind of like the truth, because we do see just like a lot of dudes ripping, a lot of dudes skiing, which is great. Like, good for you guys. But it's really fun to see.
I love that journey for you.
I love that for you.
We're all very proud of ourselves. Thank you.
As a woman,
Finally, the
like,
recognition.
Yeah. As a gal, it's really fun to see not only like people who are like on the athletes team, like Sofia and Sylvia, and then like Megan Kelly, like absolutely rip it and kill it. But then just like normal gals too, who we all kind of started at the same spot and we all had to get over that barrier of entry and just like to make it more welcoming, which Tele can be welcoming if you find the right people and they're like, it's not that hard, just do it. It can be very welcoming. And so we're just trying to expand that and let people know that we're here and we're like happy to have anybody join. I don't know, Sophia, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. No, I just think it's like, yeah, about making it feel encouraging and just like having that attitude in general. And I feel like, honestly, like, I mean, just in my bubble of Alta, it seems like in the last few years, there's a lot more ladies specifically who are stoked on it and trying it. Cause a lot of times guys will like be like, oh, I'm going to start telling and then do it and like pick it up in a day somehow and like are really good at it. And like, yeah, like you said, it, you know, I think it's good to have a supportive community for girls to feel like, and women to feel like they can do that too. And so, yeah, I just think it's a good supportive crew.
And Sophia, you've been telling for a long time. And I kind of wonder, you know, when you're in it, were you very aware of things happening in the telemark community or kind of sticking yourself to either projects or films and you felt like something like the Tele Mommies needed a space or that it should exist? Or were you kind of outside of that and just having a bunch of fun out at Alta skiing and then kind of got sucked into this whole fun thing?
Yeah, I feel like I'm lucky that I just got sucked into it. I mean, I was just in a Tele family and like my mom and aunt and cousins all rip and they're all ladies. And so like, I think I luckily had good role models, and it wasn't until like I went to school in Bozeman, Montana, and skiing Bridger. There's, you know, just not as many Tele skiers compared to like Steamboat and Alta, and so that was just like there wasn't a community period at all really. And then it started to pick up, I think, in recent years. And then yeah, being at Alta, like then I think Eliza figured out the space that needed to, you know, be filled, and that's awesome. But yeah, honestly, I just feel grateful to be sucked into cool community and people that then get excited about it and are like, oh, this is so cool, I want to try that. And like so many of my friends now like are buying setups and figuring it out and trying. And I think it's because there is probably this newer, safer space that just is like, you can feel it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of a fun thing. You know, we got to film that segment for This is Telemark and being out in the backcountry and stuff like that. And I think there can be, I would assume this is a man speaking this, right? But that there is differences in changing dynamics between going out to tour in the backcountry with an all male group versus an all, female group, or primarily that, or however you want to say it, where perhaps the conversations are different and everything else. So I don't know if one of you maybe want to speak to that, because I think that's a really cool thing that other people could start doing, and a better opportunity for people kind of being able to explore their own safety limits in the backcountry and their own comfortability and everything else, versus feeling like just getting dragged around by, I don't know, a bunch of us idiots or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's so huge to be with women. And I would say, honestly, a lot of my like women friends in Salt Lake are probably way more badass than my male friends. They're guides, and they're like avalanche forecasters, and they're like really, really competent in this space. And I would just say in general, like it feels like when we all toured together, it felt great because there was never one leader or one person making decisions, as there never should be, obviously, in the backcountry. But it was just conversations about everybody's comfortability and their risk tolerance. And we stayed really safe that day and stuck to some lower angle stuff. And, we were filming, and so there's those things that complicate it. But I just think in general, it's always a lot more conversation and including everyone in the conversation. I don't know, Eliza, is there any, I feel like we've talked about this before a little bit.
Yeah, and I also just feel like women just in general have more patience than men. And like there's definitely plenty of like really patient men who will be that like mentor for a woman, but just like we stopped because we were hungry and we needed snack breaks, and nobody wanted to get a little like crabby, and everybody was cool with that. It wasn't like we need to go and we need to go now. We need to be hitting 2 miles an hour and 1,000 feet of vert an hour. Like it was more so like, how are we feeling? And then like we were like stopping to put sunscreen on. I got a blister on my foot and I had to take my whole boot off and tape my ankles. And nobody made me feel like I was like slowing down the group or anything. And it's just like that patience that like lets you learn, and then also like makes it more enjoyable when you feel like you're not like trying desperately to keep up with just a group of dudes.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah. And I think too, it's like, it's so difficult if you're out in the backcountry and you feel like you're mentally redlining, because that complicates what your decision making is going to be. It could create second guessing and everything else. So I had a lovely time being able to ski with all of you for that segment, because that was honestly my ideal way of communicating for the backcountry and making sure everyone's comfortable. And if somebody isn't, then we'll figure out another plan. I think that was such a fun time for us to be able to go out and do that. So Adam, we've been seeing a lot of videos of you trying to tour and falling all over the place. I mean,
that I did that for the camera. First I fell to humanize it. So with the crew I was with, because they were all falling and I was kind of the lead. And I also read that if you're the lead guide and you make it look hard and you fall, you get bigger tips. So that was intentional one. No, but my question is really, this conversation's been happening for a long time. Like, women deserve a seat at the table, and there's room for more than one in every ski film. Like that makes it, whether it's telemark or alpine. My question is, we've been talking about it for a long time. Do you guys personally see a change? And we can only give your personal opinion, right? But like, are you seeing a change? Are, communities like Tele Mommies, which I look at as a community, because that's what you're creating. It started as a girl gang maybe, but now it's becoming a community, and tell me if I'm wrong. But are you seeing a change? Are you seeing a male dominated field change? Are you seeing the way people interact with you guys change, specifically males? And does that question make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I can start, Sophia, and then you can add on. I would say it's not so like I see a total change in like the entire telemark community, but it's like more so the act of intentionally creating that community for ourselves. Because like, as you've been saying, the conversation's been going on for a long time, and like women can always be like, women support women, but maybe truly they haven't before. And it's like, you have to be really intentional about creating that space for everybody and like how you treat everybody. And so like, truly for me, it started with meeting Sylvia, who like kind of became like, she's a role model for me. And like, she was the first person at Alta that created that space for me. And so it was like, okay, this is easy enough to do for everybody else. And it's like, we have tons of guys that are just like stoked about our silly little videos on the internet. Like today I was skiing and 2 alpine skiers and a snowboarder came up to me and they were like, "Are you the Tele mommies we noticed because of your glasses?" And it was like,
Awesome.
I was like,
That's
yeah.
so
And
rad.
I gave them stickers, none of them Tele, but they were like so stoked to be just like a part of it. And so I think it's like more so intentionally creating that space for ourselves rather than just like requesting that other people make it for us.
That's a great answer. I don't think I have anything to add. Perfect.
And I just want to clarify, I wasn't saying like we've been having this conversation for a long time and like we're over it. I'm saying like we talk about it's been happening for a long time. And like I'm like, how do you guys feel? How do we feel about this? Is there actually a change happening? But that's just to clarify. Part 2, I think telemark specifically is like a very for lack of a better term, you can't sit with us type thing. Like it's very, when you see people, and this is just a male perspective from what I see, when you see people on the chairlifts or in lift lines, everyone wants to talk to you. That's telemark. You're a telemark skier. Oh shit, you make eye contact, you do the nod, you're best friends. But then when you go on the internet, if you say anything about telemark, it's like, well, you're not good at it or you can't do this. And I think for me, telemark was so much like, you don't have to be good at it to enjoy it. And I don't know where I'm going with this question other than I just think it's a very like counterproductive culture, at least when it comes to like the internet and like just being, if you're not good, you're not in, you're not welcome. And I'm not saying the Tele mommies aren't good at skiing by any means, but I'm saying I've seen a lot of just fun videos where it maybe doesn't highlight like absolute shredding, but it highlights having a good time with your homies, which I think is more important at this point in our telemark journeys in general.
I feel like, to counter that a little bit, I feel like in the telemark space, it actually does feel, maybe to me, and maybe that's just because I'm in it, like more like, hey, you can just try and figure this out, less so than in the alpine community where it's like, I think far more judgmental of like, oh, you're not good and you can't tread and you can't keep up and whatever. I feel like at least a lot of the tele skiers at Alta, it's like there are definitely a lot of people learning and trying and figuring it out, and I think people are excited. I feel like it's less like that than like the alpine ski community. I don't know if maybe I'm
No, that's
seeing
like,
a
I'm
different
just telling you,
perspective. I don't know.
all we can do is speak from our personal experiences,
Yeah.
right? So like I feel the opposite. And being specific to Alta, and this was years ago, but like I came out there as a bright-eyed, you know, telemark skier and wanted to ski with that whole community, and I got snubbed so hard.
Yeah.
And again, this was 6 years ago. So like maybe things have changed, but like I put every feeler out. I could keep up. It wasn't me learning. It was very much like I can do these things, and I was left unread by everybody. So maybe this is just spite podcast.
Maybe that's just like a bummer person.
Yeah,
too,
I
just, like,
also
bummer people.
Might
I
just be
do-
you, Adam.
I
Oh,
do.
for sure.
I think that honestly, with like Tele COLO becoming more popular,
Mhm.
young people became a lot more engaged and more welcoming. I
Mhm.
do think that like all the forum dads aren't welcoming online
Yes,
because
that's
they
true.
think they know everything about telemark and everything that's right. So yeah, I can see your point, Adam, but I do think that like at least with the young folks that Sophia and I are around, it's way
Yeah.
more so like, yeah, DM me. I'll help you answer I'll try to answer your questions. I don't know much about like technical stuff, but I'll try. And then, yeah, we're in person. We're definitely a lot like really welcoming.
Yeah. And like I feel like there's a bunch of people on that I don't even know who are like commenting on the Bishop stuff or the Tele Mommy stuff that are like maybe a girl at Alta that I haven't met yet, but they're like, wow, this is so sick. Like, I'm so excited, and like there's just a lot of like stoke and encouragement and a lot of that back and forth, which I think is like, it's a beautiful thing. It's nice.
And it we are in the social media age and everything can be published. So, and we have algorithm that funnels us to various corners of the internet, various corners of personalities. And I feel like whether it's tele or alpine, snowboarding, skateboarding, whatever, there's going to be the welcoming group that's there to just have a good time and let people be a part of it. And then there's going to be the gatekeeping group that they have a weird intimacy with it that has gotten to the point they don't want others to be a part of it. And I think we see that with Tele, but something cool that you said, Eliza, that I think speaks a lot to the Tele Mommies project is that, you mentioned that you had non-Teliers, so alpine skiers and snowboarders coming up that have somehow, through this crazy internet age, found their way to the Tele Mommies account. And they've seen so much of the stoke and the fun that all of you do that they don't even need a telemark to be a part of it, right? So they're just engaging with your personalities and cultures and way of navigating the mountain, regardless of what the binding system is or something like that. I think that speaks a lot to what you're doing, and it has this side effect of people see people having fun on tele, and maybe it engages them to want to do it. Maybe they've had a bad experience, like Adam getting shunned or something like that, or had some really bad responses on the forum or something, but then find your corner of the internet and like, holy shit, these girls are having so much fun. They're ripping, they're playing, they're doing this, they're doing that. Like, this sport looks fun, this community looks fun. So I think it's positive, not only just for, women in skiing or in snow sports or anything like that, but just for telemark as a whole, and that's a long-winded way for me to say too, you do something really cool, which is the mommy of the month?
Yeah.
That you do on the account. So yeah, tell us about that, because I think this is another really cool thing to expose others to this community and to telemark and everything else.
Yeah, so last year I just it actually stemmed from this group that was on Instagram in Colorado like a long time ago, or not a long time ago, like 5 years ago, called Slow Ladies Club. And they would do like a Woman Crush Wednesday. Slow Ladies Club has like since dissembled, but they did like a Women Crush Wednesday, and they like started highlighting just like normal gals who did biking, trail running, skiing, anything that just like they tried to create that community. And so I was like, oh, I could do that with Tele. I'm not doing it every single week. I'm going to do it once a month. And it started with just people I knew, and then people started following the account, and I would just kind of like pay attention. And so I started just reaching out to some gals, and like I met some really interesting people. I just wanted to highlight like normal women who do this sport, who have fun doing it. And one gal, she's on Vancouver Island. Her name's Megan. And not only is she like really funny and just has a great time skiing, which is, I can see on her Instagram, but she like studies orcas for a living, which I thought that was like super neat. And I was like, I just want to know you. And so it's like a way, I'm really trying to highlight just like normal gals that aren't on like an athlete team. I just want it to be like anybody can be a Tele Mommy of a month. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're out there skiing and having a good time, I don't care if you started yesterday. I don't care if you started 10 years ago. I just want like to know why you do this and what you love about it, and then to just like promote you.
Awesome. I feel like the coolest thing about that too, Eliza, is just like seeing what the rest of their life looks like if they study orcas, because women always, we always say this, like have 10 million other things going on, and half of us are like also in, they're like in med school, or they're in a master's, or they're studying orcas, and so it's like cool to see how this is just one corner of their life. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that you're finding somebody in telemark in general where that's the only thing they're doing, unless they've ultimately figured it out. Yeah,
like, we know this.
And that wasn't a lead up for that at all. but no, it is cool, because I mean, I've even, like I started the TC project 5 years ago or 6 years ago now or something like that, and I feel like doing that through Instagram and doing film tours and stuff, I've started to meet, you know, a lot of people, whether it's I just know their Instagram handle, which is I feel like how we know most people nowadays, and not their actual real name. Yeah. Or I've seen them in some other way, shape, or form. But the women you've highlighted in the mommies of the month or what have you is been people I haven't seen. It's been so cool to get that exposure to someone that is, you know, someone that is working with orcas and also a ripping telemark skier. You know, like it's so cool that this account that you've created has been able to bring people in that and expose it to so many others.
I have a question. Well, there's 4 people. You gotta like time it.
I know.
Where do you see the Telemommies community in 5 years?
Off the bat, I want some merch, which may be in the talks.
Yeah.
And then I want to do like meetups. This winter, my goal is to do 2 meetups. So hopefully we can just get meetups. And I just still want it to just be a fun thing. We can have meetups. Hopefully I have some cash on hand to like provide snacks and drinks where it's not like BYOB, but that is not what it is right now. And just like, just to have a community, have some more fun, maybe highlight some more gals that CJ could put in his films and just like highlight women in telemark. Really, it doesn't need to be too serious. I'm not going to go full on Telemommies project like CJ has made COLO his job. I don't have the passion.
Thanks for being honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
How can we support this, like, genuinely? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart as someone who like this podcast, I have to do it every week, and I'm not complaining, but it takes a lot of work. And like CJ makes telefilms, and like buying a hat goes a long way. So how can people support this? 1, if it's financially; 2, if it's just by following; 3, if it's by showing up. Like, how do people get involved and help and grow this community?
1, I think following and engaging with our content on Instagram. So we still feel like people want to see whatever we're doing on there. 2, we do have meetups. Show up, or I am not going to do it again because I don't want to be the only one in the parking lot, just like with a cooler of spindrifts. Like, okay, well, nobody came to my birthday party. And then we have still sold stickers in the past, so probably more stickers are coming. And then eventually, if we make like a hat or something, to buy that if you feel so inclined. But I'm not telling people that they need to spend their hard-earned money on a silly hat, but it would be cool if they did.
Be cool.
And then you can fund all the snacks, which I love. I love the idea of you going to the bank and in your 5-year business plan. It's like, we really want to get to a point where we can supply snacks at our meetup.
Yeah, I just want to bring snacks. Like good snacks too.
Charcuterie boards. You want
Yeah.
like high-level snacks. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
high
a little
level
bit more
snacks,
intense.
not like yeah.
Not like cuties and popcorn.
Yeah.
We've obviously had you both for a bit, even before we started recording, but I did have a couple other questions. And one of them, I think I'm just curious to see, based on your experiences, you know, having been in the Alpine space, being in the telemark space, do you see a difference in kind of women or female representation, whether it's through companies or the community, between, you know, alpine skiing and telemark skiing? Do you see a difference, or does it feel very much the same, like it's more of an outdoor snow sport sort of thing?
That's a hard question. I don't freaking know. Sometimes it does feel like a little bit all the same, but it also feels like it's just, and I think Tele is overall a more inclusive environment, so then it feels like it's more inclusive for women, but it's so hard to tell. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think there's something that either companies or industry could be doing better, or anything you've ran into with that, you know, just outside of general community acceptance and Stoke and everything else?
I mean, I think like what the Powder Magazine article is about, like I think women have a hard time getting gear that works, frankly. perfectly for them. You know, I think like I started and got interested in bishops and tried CJ's bishop when we were filming for the first time because I was nervous to do any sort of other NTN. When you have a small foot and then you're connecting at the duck butt, it feels like it changes the pivot point, and I was like not down for that. And I had talked to other small tele skiers who struggled with how that was feeling for them too. And the bishop is great because it doesn't change the pivot point, connects at the back. That was why I ended up like going with that, and why that works if I'm gonna have an NTN boot for me. But then there's you know just issues I think in like women always struggle with gear, like Eliza, you know, right? Like snow pants, like don't make things for girls with big quads, which is weird because skiers have big quads, right? So it's like shit like that, but then it translates I think into the community, and that's a space that could be better. There's just more things occupied in the alpine world, and it's like there's really like 1 or 2 places you can buy a tele boot and a few places you can buy a binding, and so there's just not enough options, and it just needs to grow is what I think. And it needs to grow, and people need to get into it for it to grow. So I mean, we're doing the things to make that happen. CJ, you're for sure, you know, doing that I think with movies and things. But yeah, I don't know. Eliza, do you have more to add to that?
Yeah, I think that Telly does a pretty good job highlighting at least like the women athletes that they have, like for 22 or for Bishop. But again, it's like there are some gals that will huck themselves off scary things, but nobody's like at 18-year-old Saul level. And people like seeing people throw their bodies around in the park and like hucking like big things. And for women, it's just different. I'm not saying there's not women that do that. And definitely in the alpine space, it's a lot easier, I think, to find those women that are like happy throwing their bodies around. And so like the women do get representation, but it's just definitely still not to the level of like the guys, just because we ski differently and we want to ski different stuff and we have a different vibe associated with us. And yeah, especially like what you said with gear, I just had a terrible time with a pretty like popular company in the telemark community, and I'm not going to speak bad. I'm not going to name drop them, but I had to like go through like 3 different sizes of a bib because my butt and thighs did not fit. And
like your butt and thighs are normal.
Yeah, I'm a normal sized woman.
On the record.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, I've got a pretty normal body.
This is so nice because I've been wondering how to ask that question and not be weird, and now I don't have to ask it. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I was like at my breaking point with this brand, and I was like, I need something that fixes it, like that works for me. I had to go in person. They ran around their little store and they found me something from like 3 years ago that fits, because they've been changing their sizing or whatever. But yeah, it's just hard to find. Yeah, exactly, Adam. It's just hard to find things that fit if you're normal sized or small sized for women. It's hard.
Yeah.
I think they changed their sizing too, just so you know, because things used to fit me and they don't anymore. And I'm
People
not
are gonna just have to be guessing
body.
what this is.
I guessed immediately. I knew exactly who it was.
No, and I actually like wrote. I wasn't trying to be mean, but I did express my displeasure about the new sizing. So
I think that helps though. Like I don't like, obviously public bashing doesn't necessarily help. And I don't think we're doing that, but I think a letter helps, being like, hey, I've been this size, I've worn, and I literally had the same experience, maybe not the same, but like I've ordered the same bibs from the same company for 7 years, 10 years. And now that size doesn't fit. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting fatter. Like I'm pushing 40. Like I get it. But then I put the old ones on and I'm like, no, these still fit. And if the old ones fit, the new ones should fit. So it's not me. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. I want to make this about me because I have a bunch of females on, and that's what we do. We mansplain things. So I just want to
got it.
Yeah, Adam's mansplaining body insecurity to girls. We don't know anything about that.
Somebody made a sticker and it said,
"You're welcome.
Mansplain me harder, Daddy." That's a good one. Maybe that's a Telemommy's thing. Mansplain me harder, Daddy.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, that is good.
When Saga outerwear was still a thing, I was the person that had a double XL slim fit pant. So I feel like I can't really contribute to this conversation because I'm well gone on trying to figure out sizing.
Slim thick is what we hear.
Yeah, I just wanted to drop in the word slim on that one. I've got at least one more question, Adam, but did you have anything else?
No, I'm all good on this end. So you can fire up a question. You guys might have to stay in the chat, even though we boot you out, just so it finishes uploading. But continue away here.
All right, last question, because I know the Tele Mommies, at least, I can't remember actually if it was, well, no, it was the same thing. You created the Instagram account with Kings and Queens of the Heel, right? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are we going to see another Tele Mommies Kings and Queens submission? Let the world know.
You will not see any of the original players for Tele Mommies Kings and Queens. But if any women are out there listening to this and anybody wants to use the Tele Mommies name, it's more than anybody can use it, up for grabs. You can be the new Tele Mommies team. What? The only thing is it has to be all women. That's our only caveat. And yeah, just let us know and we can pass the baton to you for the Kings and Queens if anybody's interested.
About to have like 5 Tele Mommies teams submitting. It's going to be really confusing. We'll have to do Tele Mommies
No,
1, 2,
I
3.
think it has to be one. Whoever gets to us first.
Okay. So you're going to do the official selection on this.
No, well, I don't want it to be like a tryout. No, I don't want it to be. We're not going to be competitive here, but it's just like
first.
Yes. Yeah, whoever asks first, whoever gets their team together first, January 1st probably is when the book is going to drop.
We can
then
all
shoot us a message. We can hope. Only if CJ gets his shit together.
Yeah.
It's in God's hands now.
Oh God. Well, awesome. Everybody heard it here. Tele Mommies is allowing you to take up the reins for Kings and Queens of the Heel. Hit them up on their accounts. I guess Eliza, Sophia, tell us how people can reach out, the accounts, best way to kind of do this moving forward. How can they track you for these meetups that are going to happen with the quote unquote free snacks?
Well, I said maybe not free this year, but I'll try. All Tele Mommies communications will be on Tele. I think Adam had it on the screen, Tele_mommies. I'll post stuff about meetups and just anything like that. And then Sophia, I don't know if you want them to follow your personal account as a Bishop athlete.
Yeah, that's fine too. But I feel like the Tele Mommies is the main goal, so stick with that. And then meetups and whatever. I think that's great.
Awesome. Well, everyone, make sure to follow the Tele Mommies. They're going to be doing some awesome stuff. Eliza and Sophia, thanks so much for so last minute coming on with us and hanging out. And I guess Adam and I are going to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of the show now.
Yeah, it's going to get rougher. We're going to this time. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to kick you out, but I'm going to tell you might have to stay in. So I don't know. Someone's waiting. I can't see that.
It's Nick.
Sticky Nicky.
Oh,
Sticky Nicky.
Thank you guys. They should be good, honestly. It says uploading, but I think it's I think they should be all set. Dude, that was great. Like, I was kind of nice that I just shut up and listened for like almost 40 minutes. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for them too for popping on and making it happen very quickly. Now, CJ, what do you want to talk about? This is like,
God.
I feel like we were so inspiring for the first 40 minutes.
This is where it starts to go really downhill.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, you kind of wrapped up your tour. So I think we should talk about that first and kind of let people know how the tour went, if they can still license the event and go from there.
Yeah, sure. So actually this past Friday, I just wrapped up what may be my last kind of main showing for this old mill, also showing Future Free Heel 3 we did over in Breckenridge at RMU Breck, which is feels like a very kind of hometown showing for us. Had a bunch of people there, and it was a really killer way to kind of wrap up what has been a very condensed but incredible tour. Got to go to a lot of new locations and old locations, met a lot of new people, which was mind-blowing to me. When I first started doing this, I was hoping for 60 people to show up. Maybe that would be a huge success, and it still is. But now we're starting to do new locations where we're seeing 100 and 150 people. A lot of people that aren't even telemark skiers that are just down to kind of see what this community is about. And that's, again, something that I really love to hype up about the Telemommies is that their positivity and their vibe and their energy and everything has done so much more than just be something for, I think something for women. It's done something for the sport as a whole to see how welcoming this community can be, at least in that corner. And how fun all of this can be. And it doesn't have to be just an absolute huck your meat fest, right? And I got to see that a lot with the showings here, where I think everyone seemed to glue themselves to different segments. We have a whole ski board segment. We've got park segments. We've got a pretty interesting Japan segment. And it's really cool to be traveling in all these cities and see, what people responded to, what they were stoked on. Hopefully loving the music because I put so much effort into that. But yeah, I feel incredibly thankful that it went so well. There's so many people that I won't list every single name because we'll go for another 40 minutes, but you know who you are. If you've helped set up a showing, allowed us to sleep in your driveway or your couch, pet your bunny. That's not a euphemism. We actually had someone where we could hang out with the bunny after the show.
So much.
No, I mean, it's just, I power through doing the tour primarily solo in terms of scheduling and everything else, but there's just so many other people that are a part of it. Sal Malone traveled with me to help out with a majority of the showings. People in all these different cities were helping out to figure out locations to do it at. And yeah, I feel incredibly thankful to be going through another season and also, film tour season, and also incredibly thankful to be wrapping up because my sleep patterns are just so far off at this point that I don't know how I'll be able to recover. But no, it was a great time. The film is still available for licensing if you're wanting to show your own premiere, whether it's a fundraiser, your own little private party, whatever you want to do. And you can hit me up at telecolo.ski. And the movie will be available for streaming likely late December or early January. So, I know we can't hit every single city that people want us to. So that'll be another option to check it out and see the new Tele nonsense from just this one little small corner of the telemark world.
I actually have a voicemail that's pretty relevant to the things you just spoke on. So I'm going to play that
nice
and mix it into the whole thing here. So let me just pull this up. I had it pulled up, and then life happened, and
we're still recovering from being able to hang out with Eliza.
Well, Telecall just left like 7 voicemails because and said you have 40 minutes to get me a voicemail. So,
God,
yeah, it's where? Oh, here it is. I'm dialed. We're professionals. Let me play this if I know how to. Boom. Nope. Please hold. Let's keep talking. Phil. I disconnected my Bluetooth because I'm a man child. Guys, we're just figuring this out. It's only a 3rd episode. I know we sound like professionals and we're really good at what we do, but that's
while I watch you fumble around there, I see you fumbling around a bunch of Bishop's keys. So maybe this is a good time to plug our sponsor for the Pretty Good Telemark Show once again as you try to navigate. So thankful to again have Bishop supporting this project between Adam X and I, truly making incredible telemark gear. We just had Sofia on there, who is a athlete for Bishop Telemark, and I think what she said is an ad in itself. And being able to swap from 75, you're hesitant about that NTN exchange. I think one of the beautiful things about Bishop is its ability to still give you what they call the real heel feel. So you have that heel throw that's still going to connect in the back. You're still going to be able to fine tune it so you can have it be a very neutral binding, or you can really stiffen that thing up and just go as active as you humanly want to. I think that's the beautiful thing about it, is you can truly find that sweet spot that you're looking for, regardless of what binding you're coming from. If you're coming from a Roddy Cobra or a G3 Targa, or you're coming from a Hammerhead or a 7TM, which I still have never set foot in that binding before. But either way, Bishop's been great. Bishop Telemark is truly supporting this industry here, supporting us, making just incredible products between the bindings and the skis, and supporting really incredible athletes and getting them on more trips like Sofia there. So big shout out and thanks to Bishop.
Yeah, an interesting take from Sofia on something that, like, as a 27.5 shell human body, I wouldn't think about, is like, when you're grabbing on like what we would call the duck butt with a really small foot, it changes the whole pivot point. It changes how that boot reacts, and having it, the real heel feel, or whatever we want to call it, something I wouldn't think about. So it's like a neat concept. I'm going to bring it into my sales pitch now when I'm working at the shops. And it's, because we have that debate of, what binding is best for me. And, that the cool thing is we actually have some options with Telemark right now when it comes to bindings. And what I always tell people is, support the brands that support your favorite athletes, or your favorite films, or your favorite, anybody. Like, so it's really neat to see Bishop spending money, sending people on trips, building a team, and creating something, and also having like excellent products.
Oh yeah. And speaking of their fun team and those trips, make sure to check out the Bishop Telemark YouTube page. They just dropped their spring break little summary edit that is just all positive vibes, and really the stuff that I channel into when I think about why I love telemark skiing. So make sure you give them a check out on that. You can also like and subscribe. I never say that all too often, but you can do that for them as well. And I think it'll be very positive. It does help.
Also, I've invited myself to the Bishop team trip this year. So I don't know if they will accept the invite, but I have invited myself on the trip and told everyone at Bishop that I'm coming. So we'll see.
Enjoy the one good team segment that came out before Adam X just absolutely ruins it.
I'm about to ruin this. Yeah, shout out Bishop. We'll give him a little arf. But no, it's been so great to work with, and I just got my new Chetties in the mail, and I'm super pumped to ski them and write a full review on them. I promise I won't be biased. You guys know that, because I've been very clear about shitting on things I don't like. So look out for that review. There's already a review out on the Gonzo, and I tell you all about it. And then I'm going to break down, the BMF versus the BMFR, and maybe we could do that on a pod one day. But I still love how you said it with the R is like an Enduro. It's a little heavier on the up, but you don't have any sacrifice on the down. And I just think it's such a great way to explain it. I've used it many times. So thanks for that.
Shout out Bishop. All right. We got that voicemail, Ray. You figure out
I think so. It should work. Here we go.
Adam, CJ, what up, guys? It's Colin, your favorite dude that skis short skis. We're wrapping up. CJ is wrapping up the This Old Mill tour right now, going to the RMU premiere tonight in Breckenridge. I think he's got at least one more on the books, still trying to schedule the Steamboat premiere. Steamboat doesn't have anywhere good to host a movie. So good luck with that one, CJ. But the point that I want to make is that I know that the movie that CJ produced is very personal to him. He filmed all of the segments. Of course, not the one that I'm in. We'll ignore that one. But I want to know the stories about CJ's connection with each one of the segments that he filmed and produced. So maybe that's an idea. You guys could take a segment from the movie, talk about it each time you've got your monthly Pretty Good Telemark Show podcast, because I want to know the stories. Thanks, guys. See you in hell.
Maybe don't break down everyone right now, and maybe we could just be a reoccurring segment, because I think it is pretty neat. And I think with so much Instagram and videos, and there's so much consumption that gets like, we just consume and we don't talk about it. And you've seen your movie 100 times at least at this point. So let's just start with one segment. Pick a segment. Doesn't have to be your favorite segment. Doesn't have to be your least favorite segment. And kind of give us a little synopsis on the segment, what it is, and why it was important or a good or a bad about the segment.
Oh, this is a much deeper question than I was expecting from Colin, but I love that he signed off with "See you in hell" still after asking such a deep
staying
question.
on brand. Very on brand.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. For people that know me more personally or have purchased our COLO zine issue number 3, the foreword definitely goes into a lot of the nitty-gritty personal details that really set the stage for what this old mill turned into, in terms of aesthetic, the way it's presented, certainly the music, the order, and everything else. So I suppose I can talk about the Ender segment, which is the mill segment. So again, this was a segment we shot at the North London mill that's located outside of Alma, Colorado. Had Gunnar with us, Sylvia, Sofia, and Sal. So a mix of 22 Designs writers and Bishop writers. We had JT Robinson there, which I've mentioned before was a really incredible opportunity for me to be able to ski with somebody that has done so much for Telemark and has been a part of it before I had any idea that there was bindings that existed that didn't lock your heel down. But really what that segment is supposed to capture is kind of a resolution to a mental instability, honestly, about trying to figure out how to reconcile the memories we plug into these locations that'll see people before us, see us when we're there, see people after us, and try to essentially use the people that are around us. Maybe use isn't the right word, but to be able to spend the time with people that are around us to help build us back up. And I essentially use that as an analogy to what the Nolo mill had gone under. You know, this was a gold mill that existed in Mosquito Pass, late 1800s, I believe, but don't quote me on that. You know, they were doing pretty well. As you can see with mining or anything else, you know, it fell apart and became dilapidated, and then there'd be another purchaser and somebody else would show up and it would have its high point again, and then it'd be abandoned and it would have its low point again. And you can really also draw a parallel to that with telemark skiing, just in terms of its rise and fall throughout the years for whatever reason it may be, whether it's people are gluing to AT or whatever. But I was really blown away and motivated by the fact that this was a set of buildings long forgotten, that was eventually picked up and acknowledged by Jeff Crane and Kate McCoy, who started the North London Mill Preservation Inc., which is a non-for-profit to renovate these structures to be able to bring people back to it, bring it into a place that people can have these experiences and enjoy, you know, the wonderful, albeit sometimes scary, a lot of times scary, Colorado backcountry. And I really kind of found that to be representative of what I went through. The movie is kind of subtly a reference to me losing my best friend almost 2 years ago now, and kind of the positivity that I found with people around me, helping them to build me back up, and try to kind of recover from a dilapidated state. Same thing as the mill has. I think the same thing that Telemark goes through. So yeah, it was a very deep one. And maybe it sounds like a bummer talking about it, Colin. Hopefully this isn't just bumming you out. But it was a very personal movie to me. And that Ender segment with the mill serves as a way to kind of reconcile figuring out things through a season, understanding the importance of people and how these locations provide us a great way to have these great moments together. So I certainly serve that one as, you know, an Ender positivity, just full vibe shot, if you will. Adam, I mean, you saw the draft of the movie before it's finished. I don't know if this is all a surprise for you to hear. I'm kind of curious, like, if this is a surprise to you or if it makes sense.
No, I got that from the film, but I know you too. I think maybe if you didn't know, you know, the background a little bit, you wouldn't know kind of the whole coming of circle, you know, coming to life and like figuring it all out kind of, and like coming out of that hole that we all sometimes exist in. But I knew that. And I think I said it to you in a text when you were, you know, you sent me the video, and, you know, I was like, this is how I saw it. Like, there's like the beginning, there's like hints. It's like old skateboard, you know, footage of clearly like you and your friend. But I think if you don't know that, you don't, you know, if you don't know you personally, you don't know that story, It's just like it tells that story, but maybe doesn't create such a personal connection to the story.
Right.
And you know, I thought it was great. It was just like the ender to me was just like, this is what life is. It's being present. It's enjoying the moments. It's enjoying the old, enjoying the new. And then it kind of all ending. And then like, that's how it happens. Like, I assume I saw the draft, but like, I assume like credits roll and you're like, oh, like that's it. And that's kind of how, at least I view life, is like, you have to enjoy things when you have them, because they could be gone in an instant. And, you know, it's calling your friends and your family and gathering together, doing things, being present, and then hoping you can do it again.
Certainly. Yeah. And, you know, I had a really wild experience with the tour in that, you know, I wrote these words for JT, who again was nice enough to narrate the film. But all the words were written by me based on kind of what I was seeing the story being. That said, you know, I think there's a lot of times where we can spew words out of our mouth and our brain is telling us those are the right words to say, but we're not very conscious as to what they mean at that point. And for me, you know, I'm in a weird spot where I travel to 17 locations to show the same movie night after night. So I kind of sit there with everybody else to watch the movie again and reflect on the words. And I think for me, I started to learn a lot more about what those words meant to me. And definitely that analogy between the dilapidation and rehabilitation of the mill as a reference to my own personal experiences with my friend's passing, and everything. And it felt very surreal to learn that about a film that you produced, with everybody else that are also experiencing the movie for the first time. Cause I felt like I was doing it the same way. The only thing I was never able to figure out was a way to present the movie once I figured out that analogy without just feeling like I was bumming everybody out. So.
Well, I mean, again, I saw the draft, but I thought you nailed it. And I think you were very concerned about bumming everyone out. But I think, you know, the more context you have, the more you can read into it. But as just a ski film, and it was your first time doing like, you know, some narration and a little storytelling. And you've said it's been very successful with people watching it and viewing it. And that was my nervousness, is like, I watched it alone. You know, I studied it because I knew you were like looking for an opinion, and like, I need to watch it again and like not have that, like, I don't want to say anxiety because that's the wrong term, but like, I was watching your film as if I was a critic, and I was trying to like really like, okay, I was like, hey, there's just a random black screen for like 3 seconds. Like, is that supposed to be here? And like,
yeah, that was me forgetting to fill in some segments.
Right, you know what I mean? So I was like trying to be very present, you know, which is funny. You made a film about being present sometimes, but like, I put my phone down for 30 minutes and I didn't look at my phone, and I watched the screen and I listened to the words. And I'm sure when I listened to the words and watched the screen again, and even with more context, and now everyone, you know, you telling that story already. And I don't know if you do that at premieres, but like, now when people see it, when they get to stream it in December, I guess it's December now, but when they get to stream it, maybe in their own living room, they'll have a different take on that film, and they'll have a different experience with that film. So I think context always matters, but I think what makes a good film is having people, you know, a ski film, at least for me, is feeling something. And when I watched the film again, the draft, it made me want to cherish the good times, the bad times, but it also wanted me to create more times, and like continue to go skiing with my friends. And maybe it's not just like these big epic powder lines, and those are in there, but sometimes it's just like getting everyone throwing their shit into a hut. And like, that's the part that I remember. I don't remember necessarily the big lines. I remember like being jealous might be the wrong term too, but like having FOMO of you guys all getting into this whole mill and going there and hanging out. And like, I don't know any of those people, but like, that's what I felt. That was like neat. It's cool to see that. Like, I want to do that with my friends, and I do that, but I still was like, that's how I left it the first time I watched it.
Yeah. And, you know, I feel very privileged that, you know, we were talking about, there's always various corners and types of personalities that exist in every sport. Right. And I've been so lucky to fall into the group of very welcoming, animated, fun, dorky, chicken wing eating type telemark skiers, you know? And to me, like, that's what's kept me involved with this. That's certainly what's motivated me to continue to make films, is just the fun times that come out of it and the community that comes out of it. And, you know, it's like, you don't need to get a cover shot or multiple bangers in a day to really appreciate the time that you had with friends on whatever gear you're on or anything else. And that's definitely, you know, I think, as we've talked about this, as telemark progresses, we're going to see bigger tricks happening, and we'll see bigger lines and bigger names and everything. And there's still that now, you know, there's rad stuff happening now. There's rad people in this game now. But for me, I really like to channel what makes me smile about telemark, which is, you know, the vibe of hanging out in a mill when it's just absolutely breakable crust and you're navigating with all these friends that you know and love. You know, how do we make this a great day, and how do those people around you assist in that, you know? So I think that's ultimately what the overlying goal of that movie is, aside from kind of the sadder motivation for some of the narrative and everything, is to make sure that people are stoked and they're appreciating their friends, their community, and they want to go out and teleski for another season.
Yeah, and I mean, two things on that, and then I'll let this one go. One of my favorite quotes is, "You don't have to be good to be good."
Yeah.
And like, you can take that any way you want. Like, you can take it with the physical act of being good at telemark skiing or mountain biking. Mountain biking is a great one for me because I'm really bad at mountain biking. But I love mountain biking. Like, it's good to me. You don't have to be good to be good. Like, it's one of those things. But you also don't have to mentally be good to be good. Like, that's okay sometimes. And like, it's a whole, I don't know, it's kind of neat. And then two, I lost my train of thought.
That might be my fault.
No, two, it was because I read that. But two, you're talking about the people and the goofy people and the chicken wing eating people. The reason that I am in this position again, having a telemark podcast, I can tell you it's not for my ego. Like, it's not for like, because I think this is going to make me millions of dollars and whatever. I sold all of my telemark gear. I was out. I was done. I was good. I kept a boot. And then I was traveling through Colorado in my van, and World Telemark Day was happening. And we had loosely crossed paths because I had you on the pod and you were welcoming, inviting. And I was like, I don't have skis. And, you know, that day essentially got me back into the telemark world. So it was like meeting all those people and meeting you face to face. And I don't know if he was a business partner at the time with COLO, and we don't have to get into that, but like, the whole thing was just like, I'm a dude in a van who just drove from Buffalo, New York to go skiing, and I have a ski boot, and you had skis for me, and we made it happen. And like, that's what this whole thing is, and that's a testament to you. And I'm going to give your prior business partner credit there too, because you guys have helped create this and really, you know, move along the new movement. There were people before, we know that. We don't have to go in details. I'm not saying like COLO invented telemark skiing. I don't think we need to have that conversation. But I think it's undeniable that you are a driving force in building the community up again where there was a lull.
Yeah, it's you know, I don't know how much of that was intentional or just lucky, but happy that it's somehow fallen into the way it has. You know, I do want to say, because I get a little nervous about this, is obviously it's me and you sitting on this podcast, and it's really easy for us to yap about the personal things that we're doing, you know, whether it's tele experiences in a shop or experiences in the community with others or making these films. But, you know, tell us. We've got the number here, 716-599-0917. I'm always stoked to share the motivations behind, you know, these films and what I've done, whether it's either new films or old films. If you want to hear more stories like that, let us know. Colin, I think that was really sick that you asked that, because it is really nice for me to be able to kind of tell the story, especially with This Old Mill, which was a much more personal and directed film compared to This Is Telemark. I guess one more thing to say with that, and maybe that's a good segue or not. We'll see. Also call the number. Let us know if I just blew this transition or not. But, something for me personally, and this is me talking as CJ COCCIA, me is talking as the person that, started TELE. I have never thought that this space exists with just one person or one organization or film outfit or something like that. I think what gets Telemark and its community and its industry to grow, this is an uneducated guess, but this is my personal thought, is to have more people involved in all these things, more athletes, more people telling their stories via podcast or zines or books or whatever. And I think personally too, more content. So I'm stoked to announce that TC this year will be essentially organizing a Telemark film festival. We see IF3 that brings in so many good editors and content creators and filmers and athletes and everything like that. And it's gotten a lot of people with smaller names into bigger positions and gotten them more exposure. And I truly want to do that with Telemark. So more details will be coming out in January or so, but essentially we're going to be hosting a Telemark Film Festival where, whether you're a novice or you're a pro or you're sponsored or unsponsored, can create a film that's going to be submitted to this film festival that people can watch. People are going to be able to vote on. Judges are going to vote on. We're going to do cash prizes for this. But the big thing here is to share the light with others, because I know there's so many good content creators out there. There's so many good telemark skiers, so many creative people. And I want to make sure to create a space for those people to show what they're doing and also have the motivation of potentially winning some cold hard cash for it, which I know usually helps when you're trying to bring out a camera skiing, which a camera is about the worst thing for skiing fun, in my opinion. So
I didn't know that. So this is news to me. Now I actually have to make a film. Ego is like, you have to do it. I've been writing a Telemark film for like the last 4 months, short film. And now I have to do it. I don't want
you're in it now.
I'm hoping it'll happen. I've got a great filmer lined up. I've been pitching ideas to him. So that's super exciting. Are you planning on doing stops or just one show? Like, this is where it's going to be. I mean, I know it's early, but
right. That's still a work in progress. Granted, I was literally exporting this old mill while driving to the Denver premiere. So a lot of these things are pretty last minute work in progresses. But the idea, at the very least, depending on what TC is doing for a film next year, is that the 1 to 2 winning segments from the Telemark Film Festival will also be on tour with whatever the TC film tour is going to be. There will at least be one major kind of film festival showing that would be in Denver, and then possibly maybe 1 or 2 other spots, because it is much more involved to do a film festival and show kind of the longer series of either short films or longer format films. So it certainly wouldn't be a 19 stop tour for every single film submitted, because I need to sleep eventually. But the winning films would be included on whatever telefilm tour is going to happen next year. And we will do a couple of bigger events just to focus on the film festival entries and focus on the community that contributed to this.
Can we, I mean, I guess you already answered it, but we can expect another full length film from TC next year?
I am not going to answer that at the moment. No, it's really crazy with the tours that you think you're going to come back and you have this time to chill. But all of a sudden it turns into, okay, what's the project for this year? Where are we going to film? Who's going to be in it and everything like that? And right now, there's a couple of opportunities that are sticking out that can be segments. But I think doing this whole mill has made me reflect a lot differently on the way I produce movies, in terms of, a cohesive concept or idea. And that kind of unfolds as you go through the season. And that's what all the segments from this whole mill unfolded through, is just kind of learning these things as I went through and visited Driggs and South Lake Tahoe and Japan and everywhere else. So there will be something. Whatever the time limit is going to be, I'm not sure, but we will be producing something else for certain.
That stresses me out.
Yeah, I'm stressed out too.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Everyone listening, it's time to get your cameras out and start making stuff happen. I'm going to pivot completely here.
Let's do it.
It's been 3-4 weeks since the last podcast. What a great time
No.
I'm sorry to have a telemark podcast. And I'm glad we did this monthly, because it seems like every 3-4 weeks here, something new has come out or something has leaked. And it's been like a really nice timing for us. So we're not just like filling dead air yelling about G3 Targas. But the TX comp has officially been leaked. It is out. We know we're going to get a TX comp for next year. What are your thoughts on it? Give me like the quick synopsis. What do you think? Weston did this video. He kind of broke it all down. You guys can dive into that if you want. I know he was a big part of the R&D there, but what's your initial thought?
This is an interesting one. Really, my first big thought was I actually like the colorway that's coming out. It's a full black boot with white bellows, and quite honestly, I'm going to take that over the black with red. I think we all know the black with blue for the women's TX Pro is pretty sick, but black with white, really sick. Thumbs up on that one. The other aspects, though, is my understanding was that this wasn't going to be coming out yet. So this kind of caught me off guard personally. You know, I knew that Weston had been trying out these prototypes, and that was the candy cane flavored boot that you can see in the video here, but also was leaked online, I think, towards the end of last year. And people were very up in arms about it in terms of, sick, we're getting another candy cane, or there's another boot coming out. But to have the Pro out, and I think a lot of people went to support that boot just in hopes that we could keep this going. I wonder if there's a lot of people that bought the Pro out of support, and now they're seeing the comp out and they're wondering, shit, should I have waited? Did I just spend money on this boot and now I want the comp? I have noticed people selling their Pros on the forums and everything else, which could either be a sizing issue, which continues to be a hot topic, or it's that, you know, they're seeing that the comp's coming out now, and how that affects sales with shops and everything like that, I think is kind of a big question. You're much more in tune with shops. So we can talk about stiffness and the details of it, but curious your thought on that note.
Yeah, I don't own a shop. I work at a shop that sells a lot of telemark gear. We support telemark. We've worked with brands for a long time. And from a shop standpoint, with the TX Pro, we were super excited. We took pre-orders. We made a big order preseason in general, and we can't get any more. So that's a miss right off the bat with the TX Pro. We tried to reorder. Scarpa is not allowing reorders. They don't have enough boots to sell, which is like very frustrating when you have something new, especially that's a carryover item. It should exist. We should have more of them. It's a pretty simple concept. For the first time in a long time, telemark skiers are walking into ski shops willing to spend $800 to $900 and not asking for a leash or a heel throw for a G3 Targa. Like, this is like all jokes aside, like it was really exciting. So from a shop, we were pumped. And the TX Pro was like, okay, for me, really neat, a lot of range of motion. That's really where I use my telemark gear the most now, is doing mini backcountry missions and side tours. So I was super pumped on the TX Pro in that aspect. From the shop standpoint, again, now they've leaked very poorly, in my opinion. And like, I'm usually a leaker, like I get it, but there's a reason we don't leak new products. And that's so shops can sell through current products so that we can then sell next year's products. What the leak of the comp did for me was it took a lot of the steam out of the Pro. And to be fair, Scarpa did that by not having any available to sell. So what's the difference? People are waiting for next year anyway to get their size. But where we could have had all of this telemark cash being injected into our sport, getting a new TX Pro, everyone gets it. And then next year, like normal consumers being like, oh, there's a comp, and now I got to get a comp, and now buying 2 boots. All that does, it sucks. I get it, being consumer blows, but that injects cash into telemark. That creates more after, what's secondhand products. People are already selling their TX Pro. It's not what they expected it to be. Maybe they're selling because it doesn't fit. Maybe they're selling it to get a TX comp for next year. I just wish Scarpa would handle it a little better. Their number one marketer has 43 subscribers on YouTube. I love Weston. He's actually from my hometown. He's the first telemark skier I've ever seen hit a rail in my life, which helps spark and ignite some of my telemark skiing. But as a company, you just got to be better than that. The narrative shouldn't be controlled by me and you, CJ, and Weston, and anyone else who has the new boots ahead of time. The narrative should be controlled by Scarpa directly. And it just seems they don't care. They're not a marketing company. They're a product company, is a direct quote that I heard. And I'm playing nice, I promise. But I'm just like, I don't understand the strategy. Why make the molds? Why spend the time and spend the money and then miss on arguably the easiest spot? And I'm just waiting. Sorry, this is a very long rant, but I'm passionate about this stuff. I love marketing products. And I love selling products and being a consumer and being sold and being excited. I'm just waiting for March for them to be like, show us a blurry boot that we think we've never seen again. Like, stop treating us like we're idiots. Let's do this right. There's a pulse. It's palpable. You can make money. You guys made new molds for new boots because you can make money off it. So let's do it right. Let's roll these things out properly. Let's get them into people's hands who have an audience. Let's control the narrative. And I'm not just saying that's me or you, CJ. Like, I believe that I can help control the narrative. I truly do. But I'm just confused by how they're doing it. And I ultimately think that they're burning a lot of ski shops while doing it. Although ski shops don't have a choice. We're going to sell Scarpa. It's the number one boat in the market, unless we're doing like Crispy or something, which, isn't really that hot in our market.
Right. Yeah. And Crispies, we don't see nearly as prevalent as Scarpa. And I know there's distribution with that and everything. I think it's tough, because at least for me personally, I'm spitballing on how this process goes, how their finances go, how construction goes, that timeline, the sequence, everything else. But I do wonder, if is this a reaction? Is this boot coming out because they already saw the sales go up so high from the Pro? So are we seeing it the following year because kind of what our pitch was worked? Not to say that we're a part of this, but people go out, support a new boot, and they'll see the money come in and see the push to do something else. Did that actually just happen? I've talked to shop owners, talked to someone at Outdoor Gear Exchange while I was in Burlington for the J Ski showing. And they had mentioned that they had been told, again, I don't know if this is true, that essentially the Scarpa TX Pro was the highest ordered boot of all boots from Scarpa. Someone fact check me on that. Again, this is something that's
without a doubt. I mean, I don't know either, but I would believe that.
So the question there is, did that make it where now that comp is coming out the following year, or was it already planned? Because I hope that honestly everyone supported Scarpa so much that they saw it and they're like, all right, we can go on to the next one because we know people are going to want to comp too. They're sad that the comps aren't available this year. I think I'd be more disappointed to find out that the plan all along, regardless of reception, was that the comps were going to come out this year. Because now you have people that are spending a lot of money and their hard-earned money on a boot to support it in hopes of getting the boot they may actually want. And then they see it come out a year later and you're kind of in this pickle, right? So I'm kind of, I wonder about that, and also wonder, should they have waited on that one, or should they have waited one more year? We didn't have the TX Pro 2.0, if we want to call it that way, this season, but then they released the Pro and the Comp together.
I would have liked to see them released together. As far as my contacts go, I was told that the Comp was coming. I knew the Comp was coming. I didn't think the Pro was going to be a 2-year boot with another boot. I knew the Pro was coming, what we'll call this year, and the Comp was coming next year.
Sure.
As far as my understanding, that my sources reliable, proving to be true right now, but who knows? It could have been a different narrative. But as far as I understood, the Comp was planning on coming out on this timeline that we're on now. I don't think it was a knee jerk. I don't think it was based off sales. I just think it wasn't ready. They wanted to hone it in. And I don't know why maybe they were looking for the reception. Maybe they were like, okay, let's see what the Pro does and then do the Comp. But to release the Pro as a standalone seemed crazy to me. I would have loved to see it just wait one more year and then do this, the Pro and the Comp, new boot line, replace it all, and not just have like one NTN boot this year. Seems very bizarre, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's easy for us to speculate and talk, and we're not shitting on Scarpa. Like, we don't run a company. We have no, like this, of this size and this mass. I know everyone's sending and DMing Scarpa. Like, that doesn't help. It's like, the marketing person is trying, they're spinning their wheels. Scarpa, if you're listening, we're here to help. I think the people who are DMing you and emailing you are just excited. They want to help. Telemark is, I think they're seeing it. I think Scarpa's seeing how passionate these people are about this sport and this thing. And I don't know. I'm more just mad about embargo, and I'm like the king of leaking, but like I have so many leaks on my phone. There's a reason that like we haven't seen next year's Fisher boot yet, and next year's K2 boot yet, and next year's head boot, and like the new skis from whoever coming out. And that's so shops can sell through. If every consumer knows what's coming next year, we would never buy, because next year's better. Yep. The Transition Smuggler is in pink. I love it. Now it's in teal. I'm like, shit, I want that. It's the same bike, and now it's in teal. So would I have waited from the pink to the teal? Like, that's why these embargo dates exist. That's what we as consumers are. And I think it's our job as industry people to not blow the leak. And I think new. 100%. I think that's new for Telemark. It's just like the people who leaked it, and people will blame me for a leak. I didn't leak it first. I saw it. It was on Reddit for 3 days before I posted it. And then it finally made it to the Facebook forum. And once it makes it to Facebook forum, I'll post it. Mine just happens to be a bigger audience. So like, am I dirty then? Maybe, but like, my job is to get clicks. So like, I have to jump on the clicks, and I'd be interested in hearing people's take on that. But I just, like, in my heart, I'm like, I don't want anyone to know this exists. I want the people who I'm boot fitting a TX Pro to, like in the shop, selling a brand new boot that we have in stock because it exists. That would be like a really cool thing to have. Mm-hmm. And then, my consumer Telemark friends are like, when's the Comp coming? I'm like, it might be next year. And they're like, oh shit. And that's a cool feeling. Even though I know, but now they come in, they're like, Comp's coming next year. I don't even need to find a Pro now. Where like a week ago, they were searching, they were calling Telemark down and Fay Brothers and the City Garage and every other, OGE, and saying, do you have my size? Do you have a 26.5? Will you ship it? That was cool. That was the first time we had that in a long time. I hunted down a boot for one of our like Telemark, like premier Telemark customers. I called Telemark down and was like, hey, do you have this boot? And he's like, oh, I was saving it for our guy. I was like, well, we got our guy if you want to sell it. And he sold it to us. And that's really cool because he gave up one of his sizes for one of our guys. And like that draw might not exist now because the comp has been exposed.
Right. And it's pretty interesting too, the way that these things have unfolded, right? Because shops had potentially second to third wave orders coming in. They received the email that it was no longer going to come in, depending on when their order dates were and everything. And it became the panic of not having those boots for, any of the people that are the customers coming in that were waiting for that 26.5 or 27.5 or 28 or something like that. So it's almost, hopefully all the shops that sold those boots, they're good and this isn't going to hurt them now that people may be waiting for the comp. I do truly hope that they sold out of the sizes. They had to unfortunately tell their customer base that no more boots were coming into that shop, but now we have a comp coming this way, which is cool. I think it is kind of a bummer we went through such a quick wave of hype followed by like, all right, we know. And then we got into the retail season. People were buying these pros and people are, like you said, calling shops to look for a size for a telemark boot, which is awesome. Yeah, it's so awesome to hear and see. It reminds me of so many other rad things that have happened in skateboarding or whatever, where it's a new thing to come out and you're calling shops just trying and hoping you have a chance for it. And now we're seeing pros being listed on the Facebook forums where it's, ski 3 days and now selling them. And again, is it a size thing? Is it a performance thing? Is it that they're waiting for the comp? No idea. But it's like, I think the romantic in me wanted this to be so much hype for so long. And now we've already gone through the pros. People don't care. And now they're going into the comps. And I think another tough part too, that might be a reflection of why we're seeing those sales happening on, these Facebook forums or whatever, is that based on the amount of availability with the pros, essentially the way I see it, at least, is that everyone could either buy that boot unseen because they knew it was about to be sold out really quickly, or they wait potentially to do, an NTN demo tour or something like that and try the boot, but then risk not having that boot available to even purchase, so it's like, do I buy it now without understanding what this boot is so I can at least have it, or do I wait to try it and then probably can't get it this season, so.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I can only speak from my experience, but like our Scarpa rep came into town when we had our tele stock and had the new pro. He didn't have demos, but like all of our clientele saw it and wanted it and like would have been ordering them. Like we lost out on 40 boot sales, which is a lot of boot sales.
Yeah.
And that hurts. And like, fortunately we are a pretty good shop that we can survive. And it's not just telemark, but like, what about those shops that just sell telemark gear? Like they exist and like, they can't get the new boot. They can't get the old boot. So like, are they buying new old stock on eBay and selling it? Are they scooping up? Like as a brand, you got to do better. And I don't know where it was lost or missed, or if they just pre-orders weren't high enough that they didn't think the hype was there. I have a lot of questions, and obviously we can only speculate. And I'm like so tired of talking about the boot, the pro in general. Obviously, the comp is new, so we have to talk about it. As far as the comp boot goes, I've heard some really great reviews from people who have skied it. If you've skied the pro, or talked to people about the pro, it's a little unbalanced, and I think everyone can agree on that. It's a very stiff cuff and a very soft bellow. Think some people will like that. CJ, we talked about it. I've got a lot of friends who came from 75 mil and this is their first NTN and they love it because they don't know anything else and it's stiffer than the 75 in the right ways.
Right.
If you're coming from an old TX comp, 4-buckle, burly, mean, poor walk mode, just kind of a monster of a telemark boot. And then you go to a pro, you might think it's wimpy. And I think that's an interesting thought process. I think that's why we see a lot of people selling them. It's not the old comp. But with this new comp, from what I'm getting, it's an extremely stiff cuff and it's an extremely stiff bellow. The boot feels way more balanced. I personally think they just took the red dye out and changed 4 letters and didn't change anything. But time will tell. Scarpa ball is in your court.
That's the telemark conspiracy theory right there.
They just hired how do we make a new boot? I got it. You hire a graphic designer. Perfect. We'll make it black. Call it. Like,
no, you know, we'll see what it's going to be. It does sound like it's stiffer. I think, you know, I think Weston's videos has been Scarpa and the team's attempt to get ahead of the leak, because the leak came out and then pretty much right after, they've been doing more kind of publicized videos of acknowledging the comp being built, the process and the prototyping that led its way to the pro and the comp. So seems like in one way, shape, or form, they are trying to get into it a little bit. You know, I know it sounds very negative the way we talk about this, and this is just us being people that, you know, we know marketing, but we're also excited as just telemark skiers in this community to see something new and to be excited and to talk to our friends about it and everything, and just have this wonkiness where, you know, I just want to make sure people are stoked on how they're spending their money with this, how they're being, you know, presented these boots by the company and everything else. Like I do actually truly like the pro. It took a little bit of an adjustment for me to ski it, just because it is such a heavily stiff cuff kind of ankle flex into a very squishy bellow. And I did have to kind of change the way I would load it, but that's how we do when we change a spring in a binding. That's how we do if we change our mount point. That's how we do if we get new skis. We're always, you know, we're always in this flux of getting used to something, and sometimes getting used to something that is different for us can be very positive, because what comes with that could be a better buckle system or a lighter boot or whatever. So as a telemark skier, I am very proud to see these new boots coming out. You know, we're nitpicking, but I do, you know,
I think it's all good.
Yeah.
I just think, I think they could have done better. And I think some of it is just a lot of, you know, telemark shops and dealers aren't used to dealing with embargo. But like, if you did that with K2 or Fisher, like, they would send you cease and desist. Like, you can't leak the boot on like, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason that, like, we don't see the new Ford F-150. Like, that's like, that exists for a reason. And then they do a launch. And I think Scarpa just needs to do a better job controlling the narrative. And I think they just really underestimated how many people cared about this boot, and like, which is hard to me to understand that, but I'm gonna sneeze, so I'm trying not to. Jeez. But no, I think they just like didn't think that like a leak was gonna happen, because no one cared, and then as soon as they got it, everyone cared. So I just thought they would have handled it better. But again, this is two heads talking.
Yep.
And I don't know what Scarpa's dealing with. I don't know what Scarpa North America resources are versus, you know, Italy. They're dealing with their own uphill battles, I'm sure. And I just want to help. I think we can just help grow this and blow this off and control the narrative. So if anyone from Scarpa actually listens to anything telemark, there's only one telemark podcast that exists, and this is it. So we will know. You can call us, you can DM us. CJ and I have emailed all of you. We're here to help. I don't care if you give me a free boot. I don't need anything more for free. I promise you that. But I can sell the shit out of your boot and control the narrative. So that is my pitch to Scarpa.
And I think to close this one up, because I know we talk about the boot a lot, but we do because this is something that we haven't been able to talk about. And it's really cool to at least have this as a topic for discussion. But, you know, it's funny to think that we're going through these waves now, but in 2 years, I guess we're going to have the black and red, we'll have the black and blue, and we'll have the black and whites sitting on the shelves, and they're there
For sure.
for however long. And yeah,
that's like anything, you know, but that's, I don't know. I want to touch on the new product also, the Bandit. It is out. It has hit shelves. It has hit stores. We sold 7 Bandits last week. The brakes are finicky if you're mounting your own brakes. Take your time. It's very easy to bend them. If you're forcing it, you're doing it wrong. These guys are hand making these things, so not everything is perfect. I had to bend the crap out of one today to get a slick pin in, and your brakes will get easier to step into with time. I promise you, your boot will wear and the bindings and brakes will wear. And just be nice to 22 Designs. Don't send them a hate mail. They are getting this shit out as fast as possible. And again, we mounted 7 pairs last week and we're figuring it out. Shops are figuring it out. And the quality control isn't always perfect because these are just small brands. That's my statement about 22 Designs and the Bandit. Everyone who has skied it says it skis phenomenal, and they're overall just stoked on the product.
Got nothing on that one. I agree. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
I know people have been having fun with mounting that binding, to put it subtly, but people seem to be really stoked. Seems like sales are good on that. So yeah, just it is really cool that 22 is producing all of this in house. But remember, this is a new binding. We've gone through this with the Outlaw. You know, Bishop went through this, and this is why Bishop is such a great binding now, is that Dave Bombard, who's the owner of Bishop Telemark, has, you know, he's always saw what maybe a minor issue was, repaired it, fixed it, resolved it through engineering and design. Then we get a better binding next year. And then maybe there's something else you notice, and we get a better binding next year. And now they have their lifetime warranty or lifetime guarantee, which just shows how much, you know, they believe in that binding. This is a new binding with a very active brake system that's coming out of 22 Designs. So, you know, try it out. Don't get too aggro when you're mounting the thing. Like I know we can. And yeah, if you run into stuff, just like, you can politely let them know, but I just would hate to see all of a sudden everyone's just freaking out in the forums and responding.
I mean, I'm dating myself, but there was an Outlaw before the Outlaw X, and the Outlaw wasn't great to step into, and the Outlaw X was very easy to step into. So once it hits the masses, we'll see. Telly, CJ, I hate to tell you this, but it's time for 1 minute and 2 seconds with Telecraw. I have not listened to this, so this could be just beeping it out. So let's see here.
Hey, what's up? Don here. You know what it is, the Telecraw update. Let's see. Let's go first to the Facebook forum. It would seem as though people are taking, some people, we know who those are taking the advent of new equipment as an insult. I don't really think there's actually that many people like bashing on 75 millimeter or leather or like 3-pin skiers. I don't think that that's actually happening. I think people maybe are feeling left behind or something. I'm not quite sure, but it would seem as though the Facebook forum people are pretty upset that people have opinions on a new piece of gear brought to you by Scarpa. Thank you, Scarpa. That's a whole different thing. Anyway, yeah, I just think I don't really have any opinion, like poor opinions about 75 millimeter gear skiers. I think everybody dropping these is good with me. I don't really care how you do it at all. Even split borders on Skin Track, they're telemark skiers for half the day. Yeah. Anyway, not to keep beating the dead horse. I don't even know if this is worth using. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ski. So see you later, Pete.
Telecraw, everybody. Telecraw with our Telecraw update. I disagree with Telecraw. I think I truly believe Scarpa should stop making a 75 millimeter boot. And I think 22 Designs and anyone else who continues to make a 75 mil binding should stop. I think it will help the evolution of sport. It will help growth. Originally, it will cause a little like uproar, but you have to move forward. It's no different than like, I don't know, having grip walk and walk to ride and your traditional DIN sole. We had to choose one and move forward so that everyone could grow and build together. I think Scarpa spends money on creating and fixing old 75 mil boot molds. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just sit there and print money. But I think it needs to evolve, and that doesn't mean 75 is garbage. I just think it needs to, like, if you want to go ski leather and lace, you can still go do that. And no one's making a leather boot anymore. You just find that stuff and you hold on to it. And it's your holy grail. And I think that needs to happen with 75. I think that needs to kind of go to the Win, go to the Goodwills and the Play It Again Sports. And then maybe we can get a T4 NTN boot. Like, that's what I'd like to see, like a price point NTN boot and a price point NTN binding. And then you get this new growth of the new generation. And that's what they know. Like, Sal probably hasn't. Sal.
That horrible reference means I don't even have to respond at this point. So
yes. He's never skied leather and lace. He probably didn't even do 75. And maybe I'm putting words in it, but like, he's an 18-year-old telemark skier. He's going NTN. He's moving forward. And in 20 years, 40 years, he's going to be mad at the new tech that exists. Hopefully.
Right.
Take on that.
I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but I am really glad that Crawford brought this up. Sadly, I do kind of hover in the forums every once in a while, and this has been something I have noticed. I know exactly what Crawford is referring to, and this is coming from somebody I actually very much respect. He's a great telemark skier, great human being. And this kind of conversation does catch me off guard. I guess to respond to you first on what you're saying, I do agree. We talked about this in one of either episode 1 or 2, that I think we need to, by we, I mean, I think it would be beneficial if these telemark companies cut out 75. And I think you brought up a really beautiful point in that, yes, we understand that there's a financial allocation to what's going into 75, whether it's construction, man hours to actually install them, shipping them, dealing with the boots that are still there. But there's this aspect that if you stop that, could those resources, both financial, time, yada, 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 go into potentially the production of a more budget type of binding to get people into telemark, a more budget type of boot? So the entry level isn't spending, $480 at a minimum on bindings, or $420 or what have you, if you're getting new, an NTN, and then an $850 boot. Potentially all of that money that's going into the 75, products and designs can go to something that can be a nice budget stepping stone for people perhaps wanting to get into telemark, and reasonably so, not having the money to get into what we have right now at all. And I do agree with this. It is funny that there's such a personal, I guess it's not funny, like, people have a very personal feeling with 75 mil to NTN, to the types of bindings, to, when they put plastic on boots, did that make it not TELE anymore? Which I think is insane and laughable to have that conversation. But there are people that feel that way and think that way, this particular set of responses or posts on the forum, I don't understand where it's coming from, because I think we talk about this in a way that we just want these companies, whether it's 22, Bishop, and Wild or whatever, to be able to focus and innovate more, because these are all engineers that own these companies, and they're there to design, and they want to make us better products. If they're having to harp on an old equipment, which is, NTN's not new anymore, despite new being the first in the name, do we want to fight it where we're holding them back by making them continually produce this equipment, split up telemark, whether it's a cultural way or from an equipment preference way or anything else, and not allow them to be able to produce an even better binding that I know Dave Bombard wants to do, Chris Valiente and Collins wants to do. I know they all have ideas to make these incredible bindings, but it takes time. It takes beta testing, and all of that leads into financial allocation, right? And if we're going to just hold on to this older equipment, that makes it tough for them. I don't think there's any negativity to say that going to the new TX Pro is going to make you a better telemark skier, right?
No.
That I don't think anybody's actually saying that. I don't think there's criticism over, oh, you're a 75 mil skier versus NTN, at least coming from myself personally. You know, if you're on 75 or NTN, you're still telemark skiing and you are being a present person in this community that can maybe expose other people to it. So yeah, the forum posts have been strange, and I think it is tough because this has been the season of a lot of us harping on new technology, but it's just because we're excited. We're so stoked to see that Scarpa's been able to produce something new. We're so stoked to see that, you know, Bishop has been doing their skis and are potentially working on something. We're so stoked to see that 22 has come out with, you know, the Bandit and everything. This is a crazy season for Telemark. And I think it's so rad to have something like this to be excited about. And that excitement isn't a representation of negativity to old equipment. It's a representation of our excitement to see something new happening in this telemark world. And that for these engineers that have sunk their life and their career into doing this for us, which, you know, again, this isn't going to be an industry where you're rolling around in your Rolls Royce or whatever. They've done this for us, and now they're getting the opportunity to create something new, which is all they want to do to make telemark more fun, more approachable, more reliable equipment wise. That's my feeling on that one.
Yeah, it's just the same old theory. It's like okay, the 2006 Toyota Prius is the best Toyota Prius that's ever been made. There's no doubt about it. Like that's a fact. Like it's a 500,000-mile motor with doing nothing to the motor. You just put oil in it and like change the oil. But that doesn't so there's those people who will only buy a 2006 Prius, and that's cool because that's a 500,000-mile motor. But like they're not mad at the people who buy the new Prius,
right?
And there's no divide. It's just like, oh, you have that, cool. Like that's the car. Like my buddy Mike has literally 6 of those Honda Insights from like 1999, like those little 2-door weird, like the original hybrid, and he's obsessed with them. But he's not mad at the new Insights. And Honda or Toyota isn't continuing to make a 2006 Prius.
Right.
You can buy parts, you can fix it, but like once that Prius is done, it's done. And like that's where I see all these binding companies going in my head is like, yeah, we'll continue to make heel throws for your Vice. And like if you want to buy some springs, we'll make some springs for your Vice. And I mean, even the Kate, all of that stuff is pretty replaceable. But if you want to buy a full binding, you have to find new old stock, or you have to just evolve. And that's how I view it. Like we can support it, but it needs to move on so that people can continue to grow and move. And with that being said, in order to grow the sport, we need to get a price point down on the NTNs and the bindings. I mean, NTNs are the bindings, but the boots and the bindings together so that people can try something for less than $1,000.
Yeah, totally agree. It's, I don't know, pardon us for being excited, but it's a really cool time in telemark that we can even rant here for an hour and 48 minutes now about new communities and new equipment and everything else. And I'm just thoroughly stoked, but I agree that this isn't a hate to a 75 mil skier. I was once one, and when I swapped the NTN, I originally hated it, but I do think, it would be more productive to see us stabilizing into at least one form of a boot, one type of binding, or at least it accepts that certain boot so that we're no longer splitting something in an already very small industry and small community.
I mean, agreed. And like innovation gets people into the sport. I was a 75 holdout in my old age until a 22 Designs came out with the Outlaw. Because I didn't like Rodafel, and I was like, that's not telemark. Like I was and once the Outlaw came out, I was like, I can get into this, and this is what I like. So I did it. And then that evolved. I was like, I remember Bishop was in like a side alley at SIA, and I texted Trey and I was like, you got to go look at that binding. Like I got to get pictures of it. I need the leak, and he sent me like flip phone photos of it. Which is funny to think about now, or maybe bad iPhone photos, but I was like, oh dude, we got to bring it in. And, at that time that was a step in 75 mil, which was innovative. It's still innovative. No one else does
Yeah.
it. But I don't know. I'm excited to see it. Again, I feel like we beat the dead horse, but that's what Telemark does. It's a small community. That's what we talk about. CJ, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we kind of end this here? Because we've somehow found a way to do the same exact time slot that we
no, like, I mean, I think we talked about this. It's like, oh, maybe this is a shorter show, but here we are at almost an hour and 50 right now. Been so happy to be able to sit and chat with you, chat with Sofia and Eliza about the Telemommies project. I think there's so many dynamic things happening in Telemark right now, whether you agree with it, you disagree with it, you're excited, you're not excited, you're offended, you're stoked, you feel supported, whatever. And I think all I can say is a big thanks for people for hanging out with us for another hour and 50 minutes of all this tele nonsense. And I'm feeling pretty fulfilled at this point.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Follow at Auto Collective, follow at COLO, follow at Mr. NMX, follow, I don't know, CJ.
Yeah, you don't need my Instagram.
No, we need
but
personal.
Do call us at 716-599-0917. I would, personally love to hear what you want us to talk about. If you have questions about projects we do or films, or if you want us to keep ranting about 75 versus NTN, or if you want our true feelings about the G3 Targa, or relationship advice, I'm happy to give relationship advice here. So
very no, and the feedback has been awesome. So continue to give feedback, whether it's good, whether it's bad. If you have an opinion, this show doesn't work without you guys listening. And that's like corny to say, but it's true. The first 2 episodes have been great success, have been really good as far as numbers go and downloads go. But as we move forward, we need to hear what you guys want to hear, because you're the reason this thing works, is that you listen. And I want you to yell at your radio when you're on your drive. And when you're thinking about yelling at your radio, call the number, leave a voicemail, and let's continue the conversation, continue to ask questions. And I will put it out there, and maybe CJ will be mad at me, but if you want to come on and have a conversation and you think it makes sense, pitch it on that voicemail. And we can set it up. We can have you call in and we can have that convo right on the pod. I think the whole reason that the Pursuit podcast is what it is because I've always been very open to giving maybe non-industry people a voice. So even if you're in the industry, I don't really care. But if you have something to say, let's say it. Let's do it. Let's have the conversation. And I will leave it at that. CJ, anything else to say here?
Nope, not mad at all. Love you guys.
Man, what a treat. Love you guys he hit you with. What a delight. We'll end it how we always end it. There's only one way to do it, CJ, and this is the
Pretty Good Telemark Show. Laughs and stories steal the show. Join the ride.
CJ still doesn't know that you can unmute.
No, I figured out how to unmute it now.
Yeah.
The Pretty Good Telemark Show.
I just really love listening to it, though. So I'm just saying, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Join the ride. Let's have some